What's the worst thing you have witnessed at a bachelor or bachelorette party? Story 1. We had a small circle of 5 couples who were friends. I saw the bachelorette go into our upstairs bathroom and have fun with one of our friends. She came out smiling, with fresh lipstick, and he stayed in there for 20 minutes. Thing was, there were only 10 people at the combined B&B party, so we all knew. Really bad decision on their part. Dang. Story 2. Groom was getting married at 1:30 p.m. the day after his bachelor party. As expected, the groomsmen took him out for some heavy partying, and he woke up the next morning in a hotel room to a 10 a.m. wake-up call, with a sincere wish that he enjoyed his stay at the Kansas City Holiday Inn, faked by a friend. The best man had prepared ahead of time by picking up some phone books, stationery, those local events and attractions, flyers and magazines, notepads, and other items from a hotel in Kansas City, and substituted those materials for the ones for the Chicago hotel that they dumped him at. Of course, he checked the desk, found the Kansas City phone book, and panic ensued. I have to give props to the groomsmen for getting creative with this one. It goes beyond just going to get the guy hammered the night before his wedding. Some decent thought, planning, and execution had to go into this to pull it off as a good prank. What would make the prank even more amazing if somehow they were able to get the hotel staff to be a part of it. Like, I'm sorry, sir, but this truly is Kansas City, not Chicago. Story 3. Bachelorette party, happening at a sports club that was playing football on TV at the time. They had a dancer come in and oiled himself up, had squirty cream, bride eating a banana from his underwear, etc. Usual bachelorette stuff. Except the whole time in the middle of it was this old man who sat on a bar stool watching the football. He was there before they turned up and was too stubborn to move. So he's there with his pint about a foot away from this oiled-up male dancer, eyes glued to the screen, refusing to move. Story 4. We went on the Thursday before the Saturday wedding, as this was allegedly the best night at a local club that was notorious around town. We considered it a kind of gag trip. This one girl who was really trying hard on stage tosses her undergarment at the groom-to-be and hits him square in the face. Fast forward to Friday, and the groom has pink eye. Now he's freaking out. He's not sober. He demands that our buddy punch him in the eye, thinking that a black eye could conceal the true sin and offer a more wedding-friendly excuse. He took the hit like a champ. The bride was furious, but the wedding went on. Story 5. I was at a club where they had one stage that everyone could sit around. They had one show at a time, and each was themed and pretty awesome. There was a Batgirl that rode a little Power Wheel Batmobile on the stage. There was a classic Victorian girl. Bunch of cool performances like that. One girl came out and was doing a fire show. She poured a ring of fire around the stage, twirling fire batons. Then she pours alcohol in her mouth and goes for the breath of fire, and when she blows it all out, some of it splatters on her face and her face catches on fire. Bouncers start rushing the stage, a bunch of us jumped up out of our chairs to help, and the dancer is slapping her face and manages to pat out the fire, and then throws her hands up in the air to say she's okay. Everyone hesitantly sat back down, and she finished her show while the smell of burnt hair permeated the place. We all put pity money up on the stage for her, but when she was finished, she just grabbed her stuff and left. I think she was okay. Definitely missing some eyebrows and bangs, though. I'm not exactly sure what everyone, including the girl, thought would happen. I thought this was common knowledge that if you combine dancing and fire breathing when you're not a professional at either, bad things happen. At least she got a few extra tips because of it. But that's the kind of story that will stick with you. The regulars at the club will forever associate her as being the fire girl. Story 6. I was in Mexico surfing, and the house next to my friends was a rental, and there was a bachelor party staying there, and the bachelorette party was a couple streets away having separate fun. While me and my friends were drinking beer around the fire out back, at about 1 a.m., the bachelorette party thought it would be funny to surprise the bachelor party in their underwear and funny hats they found. Turns out the bachelor party was more of just order a dancer for each dude, and most of their significant others were the bachelorette party, so I don't think the wedding ended up taking place. Story 7. I was at a bachelor party at a house where they brought a couple of dancers over. They were dancing and doing some party tricks in the living room, including shooting ping pong tables into a bucket. The bucket kept getting moved further and further back, so the girls had to push harder and harder to launch the balls. At the end, one of the girls was trying to set a personal record and ended up blowing explosive diarrhea all over the carpet. By the time this happened, everyone was completely not sober, so instead of properly cleaning it up, My buddy just threw some old towels over it and we kept on partying. His fiancée was pissed because they ended up spending a fair chunk of their wedding gift money on new carpet for the first floor of their house, since a stain never came out of the Berber carpet. Story 8. The night of my bachelorette party, which was very tame and pretty lame, a few of us decided to go out to the bars. We witnessed another party where there were a group of about 20 or so girls who were hammered. The bride seemed more messed up than the rest of them. She proceeded to call over the waitress, and they started flirting, like a lot. They went into the back office and started moaning super loud. I could only guess what was going on. My friends and I watched in horror. Then she announced to everyone at the bar that she couldn't get married because she has realized that she was a lesbian. My night turned out to be pretty entertaining, but once in a while, I think back to that girl and wonder if she went through with it or not. Story 9. We were at a bachelorette party bar crawl in Austin, Texas. Wound up spending most of the night partying alongside a bachelor party. Got way too high that night and passed out early, and woke up to find one of my friends passed out with no clothes in the sofa bed with the groom. Our hotel room phone was ringing, and it was the rest of the bachelor party who had been trying to locate him for hours. If there's a Jonathan Anderson in your room, make him go downstairs. We have to go back to Ohio. I walked in the living room of the hotel, yelled, "John, your friends are gonna leave you here." He jumped up, grabbed his boxers, and literally ran out of the front door without a word. He got married 6 days later. Douche. This guy is absolutely a piece of crap. I get that these things go on during bachelor parties, but this should not be tolerated or accepted. It's not a thing you do at the party, you're just an a-hole. And you're starting a marriage off on a horrible note, whether or not your new wife ever finds out about it. At least it doesn't seem like this was double trouble where the groom from one party would hook up with the bride from another party. Yeah, then you would just have 2 relationships ruined. Story 10. Best mate's stag night, let's call him Tom, and 35 guys in a hockey club bar. Jugs of Tom Collins and martinis doing the rounds as chasers for significant beer. One guy, just about smaller than everybody else, let's call him Gary, decides it would be a good idea to throw the groom, Tom, in the river. We all agree it would be far funnier to throw Gary in the river. Gary finally managed to get out of the river, but is A, very wet, and B, covered in thick sticky mud, grass, pondweed, etc. He walks back into cheers and applause. About 20 minutes later, Gary's girlfriend arrives to pick him up. She walks into the cry of, "The strippers arrived!" She looks left, and there is a large screen showing a rather extreme video. She looks right, and there is a baying crowd of 34 very drunk guys. She looks in front of her, and then there is Gary, covered in crap and even more drunk. She storms off and gets in her car and locks the doors. Gary staggers outside, dripping mud over the path, and starts pleading with her to let him in the car and take him home. After 5 minutes or so, she lowers her window. The talk continues, and whilst 34 of us crowd around the windows to watch, eventually she smiles and she unlocks the car. And he gets in, through her window, very messy. Story 11. The groom, one of my closest friends since age 15, wanted his bachelor party in Key West. We all had destination bachelor parties, and they were all awesome. First night of the strip club, everybody buys him all the private dances he wants for like 3 hours, and then suggest we go check out another place with the remainder of the group. His dad was with us for the trip with one of his buddies and didn't really want to go to a dancer bar with his son. "No, we're staying here and you guys are buying me VIP dances because that's what I want to do." More like a petulant child than anything. I'm paraphrasing here, but you get the idea. So okay, we'll keep doing that then. It is his bachelor party after all. We'll check out what this town has to offer tomorrow. No, we won't. Second night, we're all back at the same club doing the same thing, only this time the groom is literally crying any minute he's not in the back room getting a private dance. Why am I not getting a VIP dance right now? Somebody buy me a damn VIP dance. We're all getting tired of this. Now fast forward to 2 a.m. to me yelling at him in the street for acting like an ungrateful prick, and go get your own dances at $20 per song for the rest of the night. We still sometimes refer to him as Bridezilla/Groomzilla and or prima donna to this day. Love that guy. Great trip. Story 12. I'm probably not the only one who has ever seen something like this, but I was a manager and doorman at a decent strip club and witnessed firsthand a bachelor party of nice, clean-cut young yuppie types come rolling in, high-fiving and partying. Nothing new. They paid cover and almost immediately hit the exit door 30 seconds later, bachelor first with all of his buddies behind him. Some looked odd and they were punching the others on the arm, telling them to shut the heck up. The last ones were dying laughing. They had walked in and the dancer on stage, who had just went out for her very first time after secretly being a waitress for a few months, was pulling off her top in front of her horrified brother, the Bachelor, and every dude she grew up with. She cried and quit immediately. I gave the guys their cover back and they vanished, only to show back up after a little while and give the sister a ride home. It was messed up, but we all still laughed about it after work that night. Story 13. Rented a cabin in the woods and had like 30 dudes there for my buddy's bachelor party. After about 36 hours of drinking, we got some workers up there, basically dancers that are more frisky. We're all hammered, and the two girls give my buddy who is getting married the best dance I've ever seen. I probably would have finished in my pants. After about 10 minutes of dancing, they suddenly took his pants down and he was as soft as Play-Doh in front of everybody and was just too wasted to respond. The collective groan from everyone at that moment is something I can still hear today. I mean, this kind of goes along with most frisky dances like this, that it's a total waste of a hot dance. Not only will this guy probably not even remember what happened the next morning, but he doesn't have enough body function to react to anything. I guess if any significant other of that guy got upset about the party, all of his guys could just back him up and truthfully say, I don't think he was enjoying it one bit. Story 14. Not anything raunchy or scandalous, my bachelorette party sucked. Had about 15 of my friends and my sister along. Long story short, one girl spent our entire cabana and poolside budget buying drinks for other hotel guests. 4 of them were caught doing bogus sugar in one of the hotel rooms by a maid. Cops were called. One of them had did it with some random dude in front of 3 others, trying to take showers after being in the pool, and like 5 or 6 made a huge scene at the restaurant because, God forbid, they had to wait 5 minutes to order their food. Embarrassed and frustrated, I got up and left, while only my sister-in-law, maid of honor, and neighbor followed me back to our room. After I broke down crying, the 4 of us spent the rest of the night ordering room service and watching some chick flicks. Not one person outside of that room even wondered where I was. The next day at my bridal shower, my now husband showed up and shamed every one of them. I got some pretty good apology cards and phone calls after that. Story 15. Let's travel back in time to 2000, before the age of Facebook and smartphones. This is long, but worth it. Last of my friends to get married, so we decided to lay low and just drink at a friend's house all night and do breakfast the next day. Bachelor's cousin would not have any of that and looked up dancers in the Boston Phoenix. We were told by the wife of the house, no dancers, so you knew this was going to end badly. The selling point of the agency was the unicorn dance. This was where the dancer would tie a strap-on to the bachelor's head and bob up and down on it while he laid on the floor. Sounds interesting enough. The 3 girls showed up and they were pretty strung out and rough-looking. They came in and mingled and offered VIP dances or basically anything. Most take the dances except the bachelor's cousin. He gets down with all 3. Not to mention he disappears with the most attractive one. We later learned that he went upstairs and did it with her in the owner's bedroom. There was glitter and unknown stains on the sheets. Downstairs, the girls are doing a 2-girl show and one passes out while getting jiggy and falls off the ottoman. We thought she was gone, but luckily she was still breathing and came to a few minutes later. With the girls' show being over, the most lucid one decided it was time for the unicorn dance. The lucky groom was outfitted with his headpiece and laid down. The dancer got on top and was bobbing up and down, trying not to smash the groom's head off the floor. It was at this time the cousin came down from upstairs and saw what was happening. He offered the girl another $50 to do some unspeakable things so the bachelor could get a better view of her. He was a class act. So she does after thinking about it for a few seconds. And after a few minutes of pumping up and down, she says her stomach does not feel right and lifts off only to have her bowels let go, where she craps on the bachelor's face and the carpeted floor. Some laughed, some were horrified, and all were in agreement that this was over and it was time for the girls to leave. We had booked for 3 hours, but this was after an hour from the time they got there. The girls were pissed off because they were looking for more tips, and we told them to screw off. The driver/security guy told us that we were going to give more or less, and 3 of the guys laughed at him, flashed their badges, and told him to leave and not cause any more drama. They got outside and proceeded to make a huge scene, screaming and calling us names. They drove over the lawn and tore up the front a bit, while the neighbors watched. As big of a show that was, it was nothing till the next day, when the house owner's wife found out not just about the strippers, but about the stuff in her bed and the stains on the carpet. Her husband was in the wrong for letting it happen. He would still not talk about it to this day. The bride was pissed at the cousin and to a smaller, lesser extent, the groom. She tried to uninvite him from the wedding, but Half the groom's family would not come if that happened. The wedding happened, and we were told not to speak of what transpired in any way, or else we'd be out the door. Story 16. At my buddy's bachelor party, there was about 15 of us, and we had 2 strippers come to the host house. We set the living room up so we all surrounded where the bachelor would be sitting. We blindfolded him to start, and everything was going great. The strippers were burning candles, and about 5 minutes into them teasing and us watching and laughing, one of them took the candle and pretended that she was going to pour the hot wax down the bachelor's pants. We all laughed until she actually did it. Well, we were all in shock. He freaked out and kicked them out of the house. And that was the end of that. They still got paid though, so I'm sure they didn't care. The inclusion of hot wax should really be something that you get to consent to ahead of time, like maybe a checkbox on the initial paperwork or menu. Usually people want to know if they are going to be potentially get burnt. And perhaps the other guys had slipped the dancers some extra money so that they would break out the candles. Either way, it's not a very big sign of toughness to kick the dancers out just because of a little hot wax. Stamina, dude, stamina. Story 17. Bride had her bachelorette party the same night the groom had his bachelor party. Someone, me, had the brilliant idea of the girls trying to find out where the boys are so that we could all meet up and hang out together at the end of the night. The boys tell us where they are, strip clubs several towns over, and we go. The club refuses to let us in, thinking that we're up to some nefarious stuff. While waiting in the parking lot trying to figure out what we're going to do, I hear a voice from my left. They'll let you in. I turn around and see a young girl on the lap of an older man in the pickup truck next to me, obviously doing him. She had stopped their fun to assure us through the driver window. Awkwardly, I thanked her and wished them a good night, and they probably continued on. Story 14. My friends aren't really bro types, even though a lot work in bro fields. One was getting married, and he wanted a stereotypical Vegas bachelor party. Now, if you're going to do that, then you need a dancer. So we hired one to come to the room for a show. Well, we don't really go to strip clubs much or ever, and we don't know what the right etiquette to have when it comes to dancers. So we end up just sitting back and watching the show as though it's a performance. Nobody making any weird noises or cheering. It's more like, yep, it's a girl. I've seen this before, but she is trying hard, so I'll just be polite. Oh, and she asked us to turn on some music so she could dance a bit. We kind of thought that she would bring all the gear needed, so we put on some music. She stopped after like a minute and asked, "Do you have anything more dancery?" Because it turns out the Black Keys, or whatever somebody decided to pull up on their phone, wasn't raunchy enough or whatnot. Eventually, she asked if anyone wanted VIP dances. Now, most of the guys were in relationships, so it was a dead room. But the best man figures if the groom wants a stereotypical bachelor party, then he should at least get the groom one. So he goes okay, and he gets a dance while looking awkwardly uncomfortable as the near-silent room waits patiently for the song to end. After that, she offered to do some weird stuff, but we all thought that that was enough of that and decided to just say we checked the box. I still don't get the appeal of strip clubs or why they seem to go wild when other people go. Like, hey guys, I'm looking to get aroused but not really do anything. You all want to make it a weird group experience? It was kind of a depressing experience whenever I've had to go. I think this guy hit the nail on the head about these kinds of clubs. I would guess that most guys who have gone to one have probably felt the same thing at one point or another. You never feel one leaving great about yourself, usually, and there is a little bit of that depressed feeling and emptiness. Seems like we kind of all know this too, but somehow it remains an unnecessary tradition of having these parties before you get married. In the comments, what are your thoughts on having a dancer at a bachelor party? Good tradition or overrated?